Hello, hello, hello. We should be here. Hold on, let me turn this off. I gotta check how I sound. Hello, hello, hello. I sound good. Let me turn I think I sound good. This off. I gotta check how I sound. Alright. Pull over, make sure I'm centered. I'm looking directly at you guys. You guys shouldn't be able to see the mic. Probably because this is like too far down. There we go. You're gonna be able to like hear me talking. Sorry about that. Some technical difficulties before we started stream. The bitrate kept dropping on OBS for some reason to like down to like 2,000-3,000, so I couldn't join. But what do you guys think of that starting soon screen, man? Real professional. I was working on it in Canva. It is one of the default ones. I just edited it to match my words, my verbiage. But I like it, man. Nice little anime character looking off in the side, just cool and calm. Lo-fi music playing in the background. And then obviously, leave a chat suggestion if you have anything, or grab some food or drinks, relax, do your thing. Thank you. Look clean and calm from Busy Boy in the chat. Thank yous. I can put chat up, but I'll probably capture that later if I can. We got a couple of topics. Is my mic up? I can turn that up. It does say it's up. It sounded good on my. My mic up. I can turn that up. It does say it's up. It sounds loud on mine. It sounded good on my. My mic up. I can turn that up. See? I don't know. If it sounds crazy, let me know. I'll adjust. I'll adjust. Okay. All right. Listen, you said don't worry. I won't worry about it for now. But what I can do is on my end just slightly up it a little bit. I'm gonna escalate my voice. Okay, so I tried to peak it and it's still capped out. I can actually show you. I don't know why I'm being an idiot here. It's actually capping out like right at that. You see that yellow mark? So even if I like scream, it's gonna cap out there. So hopefully that's good. Hopefully that's good. But yeah, man. So we got a couple of topics lined up for today. The first being something that I'm not quite, used to doing. I saw it on YouTube pop up. It was like almost 4 million views, and it was about basically like a winter prediction. I know that recently, I don't try to get political on stream, but I know recently there was some defunding done for the weather system, which always sucks, right? Not being able to predict when storms are coming in. I mean, literally right after it happened, unfortunately, the situation in Texas happened with the flooding and loss of lives and destruction of homes and entire neighborhoods. Just absolutely catastrophic stuff. But with that with that said, there comes, you want to have a reliable source of predicting weather, being able to predict upcoming storms and upcoming weather patterns. And so Ryan Hall, Yall, is his YouTube channel. Ryan Hall, Yall, did a sort of like a winter forecast. I haven't watched the video, so this will be a fresh first-time reaction. But essentially, he's saying that the winter is looking pretty scary. So again, this is something that I haven't really done on the channel before. I don't really react to weather or just factual content, really. I typically try to do like more meme content or YouTube culture, but I find this kind of important. I kind of want to know what to be expecting in the next few months, especially with weather predictions not being as reliable anymore due to, as I mentioned, the funding of the system. So let me start recording, do my little intro for the YouTube audience that might end up watching this later on in the week. Let me hit record. Perfect. So dreamers, what is going on? Today we are going to be discussing Ryan Hall Yall's video on the upcoming winter prediction, winter forecast. Find this pretty interesting. Haven't watched the video. As I mentioned to anyone that is tuning in on stream, shout out to Busy Boy, who is currently in chat and active. And I mentioned earlier that I haven't watched this video at all. I have not seen anything from this guy's channel before, but we are going to be checking out Ryan Hall Yall's The Winter is Looking Very Weird. And this is kind of scary because, as I was mentioning to the streaming audience earlier, we did get the weather system defunded earlier on in this year for the United States audience. that's familiar with that, we've had quite a few storms since then. I mentioned earlier to stream what happened in Texas, but then also I was in actually Puerto Rico earlier last month in August, and we were right in the middle of Hurricane Aaron, and it was something where I had to basically check my phone on a daily basis to see what the update was, and they weren't the most accurate updates. It was projected to rain for I think 3 or 4 out of the 8 days that I was down there back in August, and I think it only really like poured down on us where we were one or maybe 1.5 or 2 of those days when we had like 3 or 4 predicted. So I know the weather predictions are not always the most reliable, but anyway, here we go with Ryan Hall Yall's prediction for the winter.
This upcoming winter season is going to be really interesting because right now, all around the globe, there are major weather pattern changes going on. And of course, we've talked about this before. All of these weather pattern changes are going to ultimately affect our weather here in the United States. Arctic blasts, blizzards, and even severe weather are all going to be on the table once again. But the interesting part this year is exactly where those things are going to happen. You see, in this video, we're not looking at a simple forecast. This is the story of a battle, a massive
See, I think that's what I find the most interesting is that like your forecast depends literally on where you're located. Especially that applies for the United States audience. I am right up here in this top right section. I have mentioned where I live before, but I'll try my best not to dox myself here. But right up in this top right northeastern section is where I'm located. And the type of weather we get is like we have either really hot and dry days, or we'll have really, really hot and humid days, or we'll have really, really cold days, also dry. It's either or in the Northeast, right? You think of like the New Yorks, the Pennsylvanias, the Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, those states. We don't really get those more tropical hurricanes. Obviously, we're not in a tropical location. We don't get tornadoes really. We have had a few in some of the states in the Northeast, but I know flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, the Midwest of the U.S., they experience that a lot more. And that's got to be mad scary, especially when nowadays you're not even able to predict it as reliably as you were before.
Of war between competing forces in our atmosphere. On one side, we've got a weak and faltering La Nina trying to take control down in the Pacific Ocean, and on the other side, there's a wild card sitting 60,000 feet above the North Pole, the polar vortex, and it's showing some signs.
I have never heard of the polar vortex. That sounds interesting. Hey, Busy Boy, if you're still here and you have any knowledge of that, let me know. But I've never heard of that before.
Of instability that could unleash some serious Arctic cold. The result, we're looking at a winter on a knife's edge. A winter that's going to create 2 very different Americas. Some of you are going to be dealing with relentless snow and bone-chilling cold.
We haven't had that in Connecticut in about I want to say 4 or 5 years now. All of our winters, we've sort of just been shivering, waiting for this winter blast. And don't get me wrong, we've had snow. My car's been covered and whatnot last year, but in Connecticut, I just sort of just narrowed down that location for everyone a little bit more. You guys are gonna have my fucking home address pretty soon here. But in Connecticut, we don't get a lot of the anymore the winter blast we used to get in the early 2000s. We used to get feet of snow, and now we get 7-8 inches. Everyone's panicking, but it really isn't anything compared to what we used to get before.
Others, we're going to be talking about a warm and dry winter, maybe even with some drought conditions. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly where that cold and snow is going to hit the hardest. So
a drought in the winter is crazy.
Let's get right into it. Let's start off with the main player in our winter forecast, and that's what's happening right now in the Pacific Ocean. You've probably heard about El Nino and La Nina by now, but what we're dealing with this year is something.
What is El Nino and La Nina? I need to be more tapped in. This is not good.
Different. It's weak, almost ghostly. NOAA issued a La Nina watch back on August 14th, which sounds official and scary, but here's the thing. Latest models only give it a 42% chance of actually developing. That means there's a 52% chance we stay neutral all winter. And not only that, but 6 out of the 8 international models are actually calling for neutral conditions. So we're really on the fence here. Now let me explain what this means for our weather. Think of a classic strong La Nina
I'm acting shocked and whatnot. I have no idea what he's talking about. I can to some extent sort of like anticipate or use context clues to figure out sort of what he's talking about. I've never heard of El Nino and La Nina, and I don't see how them going to war is affecting us.
Dropping a giant boulder into a river.
Not like governmental bodies. Obviously, these are like climate things that are named, but still.
That boulder forces all the water, and in our case, we're talking about the jet stream and storm track, to flow around it in a very predictable way. It pushes everything north, giving us cold and snowy winters up in the north and warm, dry conditions down south.
See, as I mentioned, up in Connecticut, we are used to those cold, snowy winters up here. So that, okay, now I'm learning.
It's reliable, it's consistent, and it's powerful. But this year with...
Okay, we got Busy Boy in chat. I want to see if I can edit this part all out in the actual video. Let's see if I can add a chat capture. How am I gonna do that? How am I gonna do that? 1 second here. How am I gonna do this? How do I do this? I want to do this because having people active is good, and I need to be able to capture this. All right, so I will probably pull this out, pull this here. You're gonna watch a non-expert at work in real time, having no idea what in the world he is doing. Okay, so we're gonna capture that, and then we're gonna do a window capture. Stay with me here. Stay with me here. This is usually where you lose the audience. Stay with me. I got this. This is gonna be chat. This will take me less than 30 seconds. What do you mean? It would be this one. Okay, and then we're going to drag it, make it look lookable, right? And then we're just gonna boom. Look at that. Look at that. A professional at work, ladies and gentlemen. A professional at work. Hold on. Can we? Oh Christ. That's a bit big. It's a bit big, but that's okay. That's okay, because we're gonna hit it with the transform. That's not what we're gonna hit it with. We're gonna hit it with the blending mode and lighten it. And now we're in business. Now we're in motion. So, Busy Boy in chat. Not an expert, El Nino and La Nina have to do with the amount of moisture that comes up the west coast from the equator. So usually on a 4-year cycle, every 2, it's either La Nina, a wet winter, or El Nino, a dry winter. And some are really dry, really wet, El Nino, La Nina. That's a basic breakdown from a professional, expert, licensed weather cosmetologist, as per his own words. No, I'm joking. Just per Busy Boy in chat. Thank you for that. Back to Ryan Hall, y'all, explaining in more depth El Nino and La Nina.
Ocean temperatures sit on just
YouTube
0.3 degrees Celsius below average. That's barely crossing the threshold to even call it a La Nina. Our boulder is more like a pebble in this scenario. Maybe a marble at best. The pattern is there, you can see it trying to form, but it's fragile and it's easily disrupted. One good atmospheric wave could wash it away entirely. And that's why this winter is going to be so volatile. We don't have a strong driver keeping things locked in place. Now here's where things get really interesting. Despite all that uncertainty I just talked about, the weak La Nina, the fence-sitting models, when we look at just the long-range supercomputers, something remarkable happens. The American model, the European model, the Canadian model, they're all showing the same thing. And when all of these...
that's a good thing, right? Because there is not a single time in history when we're all agreeing on things, right? So
these models agree like this, we have to pay attention. What they're showing is a winter of 2 halves, a great divide that's going to split our country right across the middle. And I mean that literally. Draw a line across the middle of the United States, and for everyone in the southern...
Wait, but typically, like, we think of things like more northeast versus like southwest, so like California and Texas versus New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, Pennsylvania. But now it's literally just going to be north-south, like, but in like not like a this way, in like a this way. That's crazy.
Tier, we're talking about California all the way down into the Carolinas. These models are showing a warmer and drier winter. This is something that you're used to. The models are showing temperature departures of 2 to 4 degrees above normal and
Wait, but what's weird is, because I already gave away the state, right? I'll try my best not to narrow it down any further. But right here is still in that warmish zone, so we're gonna have a warm-ish, dry-ish winter in the southern hemisphere, it looks like, of Connecticut. That's crazy.
Precipitation that could be 20 to 40% below average. If you're in the southwest, this means that drought conditions are probably going to get worse. And if you're in the southeast, well, at least your heating bills may be a little bit lower. But for the northern tier, you better get ready. This is where things are actually going to be somewhat interesting this year. The models are pointing to a colder and wetter season. We're talking about enhanced storm track.
Oh no, this is us. We're cooked. We got a green, yucky, wet, cold, damp, dry winter.
More frequent Arctic intrusions, and yes, more snow. And here's the key part. Where these two different air masses collide, where that cold northern air meets the warm southern air, that's our battleground. That's where we're going to see our biggest storms, our heaviest snowfalls, and potentially some serious severe weather too. This transition area is essentially going to...
Jesus Christ. So it's okay, that I am aware of, when very hot, dry air collides with cold, wet, or cold, dry, and hot, damp, vice versa, whatever it is. When those two opposing types of air collide, that's what leads to the most storms, like hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards when it's colder. Yikes. And that's right in the middle of like every state in the country.
Going to be ground zero for weather drama this winter. But once again, we're doing some long-range forecasting here, so nothing's set in stone. I got to mention again, everything I just told you could be completely overridden by one major player. There's another player that's involved here that we haven't talked about yet. And to understand this wild card truly, we need to look way up into the stratosphere, about 60,000 feet above the North Pole. That's where the polar vortex lives. Now, I know everybody loves to talk about the polar vortex like it's some sort of scary monster. You probably heard the news screaming about it and trying to scare you. But let me tell you what the polar vortex actually is.
I'm kind of liking this guy. Very informative guy, all right? Because I'm an idiot. And so this is helping.
Think of it as a massive spinning top made of frigid Arctic air. When that top is spinning fast and stable, all that cold air stays locked up in the North Pole, where it belongs. And we stay perfectly mild down here in the mid-latitude. Life is good. But here's the crucial detail that we're concerned about this winter. When you combine La Nina conditions with the current atmospheric setup, we get a 60 to 75% chance of a major polar vortex disruption. We call this a sudden stratospheric warming event, which...
A warming event? So does that mean that the polar vortex is going to suck up more of the cold, so we're going to be even hotter? Or is it going to disperse the cold more so that the cold comes down more? How does that work?
That name is kind of ironic because it leads to major cold down here. When one of these
Number two.
disruptions happens, it's like someone just opened the freezer door for the entire country. That spinning top wobbles, slows down, and sometimes even splits in two. And when it does, all that Arctic air that was locked up around the North Pole comes spilling down into North America. We're talking about temperature drops of 15 to 25 degrees below normal, wind chills that can hit minus 30, minus 40, and even minus 50.
I'm not gonna lie. As much as I was saying that the winters have been slightly less aggressive on us, last winter it dropped to like 0, and my fingers was getting to the point of being able to fall off. If it gets to negatives, like negative 10 and 20, like he was saying, 20 below what we're used to, that I'm not ready for. I remember those were the early 2000s conditions. I'm not ready for those.
Some areas, and these aren't just little baby quick hits either. These things can last 4 to 8 weeks, completely overriding whatever pattern we thought we were in. And based on the current setup, and once again, this is long-range forecasting.
I thought he was gonna say days, weeks.
It's mostly for fun. We'll know more as we get closer to the events happening. But I'm expecting 2 to 3 major disruption events this winter, with the highest risk period being from January through early March. And when they hit, these are going to be the stories we all remember from this winter for years to come. Okay, so now that we've went over the overview, let's get specific about what you can expect in your backyard.
Wait, how come you just said the weather was explaining it, trying to get us scared? Yeah, what you've said so far, I'm still kind of scared. What you talking about?
Starting with the Pacific Northwest, and we're talking about Seattle and Portland, and you guys are in for a wild ride this winter. You're sitting directly in the path of the enhanced storm track, and you're actually the only region in the entire country where the models are very confident in consistent cooler than normal temperatures, not just dependent on the polar vortex. We're looking at a 33 to 40% probability of below normal temps. But something that we always have to think about up here is atmospheric rivers, and with that enhanced storm track, that does look like something that we're going to experience on a pretty regular basis up here this winter. In the Cascades, I think we're going to look at 20 to 40% above normal snowpack. If you're a skier, this is your...
Bro, and he said, so this is Seattle, Washington, so this is not too even far off from where I'm at. That's scary.
Year. And if you're worried about water supply for summer, you can breathe a little bit easier. Now let's move over to the northern plains and into the Great Lakes region. We're talking about Minneapolis, Chicago, Detroit, and Buffalo. You guys are going to be in the front lines of the Arctic invasions this year.
Wait, Buffalo like Buffalo, New York? Now you're getting real close to home, buddy. Arctic invasions?
When that polar vortex wobbles, you are going to feel it. And let's talk about lake effect snow, because this pattern is absolutely primed for that. We're looking at air-water temperature differences of 15 to 20 degrees Celsius during major events. And for those of you who might not know what that means, it's just essentially the perfect ingredient for those intense snow bands that can dump up to 3 feet of snow in a very short...
The winter is coming, bro. And Jon Snow's already dead. I'm sorry, we're cooked.
Period of time. If you're near the southern shores of Lake Superior or Michigan, I'm expecting 20 to 40% above normal snow.
Speaking of Game of Thrones, have you watched? Just a general question. Have you consumed the full thing? You like beginning to end? How much of a fan are you? Just let me know. I've already watched it twice now, so just let me know.
Snowfall rates down here. And it's not just lake effect snow. We're also going to be looking at the return of the Alberta Clipper this year. This is something that we haven't had to deal with.
Bro, they got serial killer titles for storms? The Alberta Clipper? What?
With a lot in recent years. These fast-moving little storms that zip down from Canada, they're going to be much more frequent this year.
Love the first Game of Thrones several times. I watched it twice. I might give it a third spin around in a year or two, because I watched it with my girlfriend last year. So I might give it like another year and then watch it again. I love it so much, bro. It's such a good show.
Each one might only drop 3 to 6 inches of snow, but they're going to happen very often. Now let's go down to the
Alberta Clipper. This is the first named season, or storm, sorry, that I've ever heard of. And apparently it's just like a recycling wind storm of like 4 to 8 inches of snow. Just every like 2 to 3 days. Just bang, 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 bang. They got, I'm watching Black Clover right now, so they got literal spells casting out here in the weather. This is wild.
Southwest. And I wish I had better news for you, but this is going to be a tough winter. Phoenix, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, the models are all showing a 33 to 50% probability of above normal temperatures, with a persistent ridge of high pressure parking itself over your region. We're talking...
Wait, so during the winter, these areas are going to be getting pummeled by sun and dry air. Oh, dude, and did he say LA? Dude, if California is set back ablaze during the winter, Jesus.
About 40% below normal precipitation, and you're already in drought conditions down here, so expect it to get much worse. And in Southern California, we've got to be especially vigilant for fire weather, which I think will be a big problem. Now let's scoot back up into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. We're talking about St. Louis, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Columbus. Welcome to the Storm Track Battleground. You're going to be right there where the...
Hey, yo, how come you haven't mentioned my state yet, gangy? I want to know what's going to happen. I want to be prepared.
Cold air from the Arctic is going to be colliding with that warm, moist air from the Gulf. And as always, when those two air masses meet, things get really interesting. Now, looking at the long-range data, here's what stands out to me most. Ice storms. The freezing rain potential is running 35 to 40% above normal this year, especially for northern Texas into Oklahoma, maybe over into Missouri. The large-scale synoptic pattern that we're going to be in just kind of screams ice storm potential for this region, so get ready for that. But
House of Dragons, give it the chance. Give it the chance, because first off, they're coming back with season 3. Just give it the chance, give it the full watch through. The dragons start popping up a lot more in season 2. The action picks up a little bit in season 2. Give it the chance. I promise it's worth it.
It's not just ice. With the subtropical jet setting up shop around 30 to 35 degrees north latitude, you're also looking at an enhanced severe weather risk. Yes, I said severe weather in winter. We could see winter supercell thunderstorms with rotation-producing tornadoes in December and January. We've seen this a lot in recent years. This will be another year where that's going to be a big risk for us. And the temperature swings, well, get ready for more weather whiplash. You might be wearing shorts one day and then experiencing a blizzard the next. It should be an interesting winter in the Ohio Valley. Now, let's go over to the Northeast.
Let's go! Alright, this is us. This is what I gotta prepare for this winter.
Through Boston and into Maine, you're looking at an exceptionally active winter. And I mean exceptionally. From everything that I can tell from these long-range models, and remember, this stuff is going to change, but I think it's definitely safe to say that we're going to have 6 to 9 significant nor'easters this year. It's a bold prediction, I know, especially
6 to 9 nor'easters. We're about to be covered in feet of snow 6 to 9 times.
With the drought of nor'easter activity that we've been having, things are looking more favorable.
So I'm not wrong when I was saying earlier that there has been a significant drop off, especially since the early 2000s, of like these really feet of snow long winters that last into like March, April and stuff.
For that kind of pattern this year. And here's what,
unless I'm tweaking from my childhood, I could have swore there was this one time it snowed in June in like 2009 or some crazy shit like that. Unless I'm just bugging.
Driving this, the North Atlantic Oscillation is expected to start positive in early winter, keeping things relatively mild. But by February and March, it's likely flipping negative. And that's when crap's going to hit the fan. A negative NAO means blocking patterns near Greenland that cause storms to slow down, intensify, and hammer the coast. And peak storm activity looks to be around February through March, so don't get fooled by the mild and seemingly inactive start to winter. It's going to end with a bang.
I don't like that. I don't like that, bro. I like when winter just pummels us in November, December, January, and then it works its way out so spring can come, bro. I don't like that. I don't want that. Can you do something about that, Ryan? Please.
Let's go into the southeastern United States. We're talking about Atlanta, Charlotte, down through Florida. You guys are going to get the warm end of this pattern. Temperatures are going to run 2 to 4 degrees above normal, and precipitation rates are going to be 20 to 30% below normal. Pretty much, this is the area that is going to be most boring this winter. There's nothing exceptional about this. This is actually a pattern that we've seen before, and we're quite used to down here. The one thing that we've really got to watch out.
Absolutely correct. Another side note. So, Busy Boy in the chat, first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones were the best thing ever seen. Yeah, no, like, there's certain movies and certain series that I've watched where, like, I mean, I think of, like, The Sopranos, what's another one? Peaky Blinders, Boardwalk Empire, where, like, a certain amount of seasons out of those are, like, some of the best television, some of the best, like, just cinematography wise, actors wise, just moments that you can take from them. And Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 5 is definitely fits that. I love that you said season 1 through 5 because 6 through 8 kind of takes away from that a little bit. But yeah, for sure, season 1 through 5 of Game of Thrones is some of the best cinema ever shot, ever. Just period, just ever.
Out for is severe weather. If we do get these big high amplitude troughs and ridges moving through, we're going to see a couple of big storm systems that could lead to tornado outbreaks and stuff like that in the southeast. So we'll have to watch out for that. But for the most part, things are looking relatively calm in the